Good happy Tuesday evening. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Tuesday evening edition of WRMK News 12 Evening Newscast. We have a lot of news to get to this Tuesday evening, so let's get started right now. First up, woman suffers head injury in 7-car crash. Firefighter injured when truck crashes through the scene. Let's take a listen to that report from WRMK News 12. A woman suffered a life-threatening injury in a 7-vehicle crash Tuesday morning on Interstate 93 in Manchester, and a firefighter who responded to the scene was injured when another crashed through. Manchester fire officials said they were called to the original crash at 5:44 a.m. on I-93 North near the Interstate 293 split. 7 vehicles were involved in the crash on the icy road. Firefighters pulled a woman from a vehicle involved in the multi-vehicle crash and took her to Elliott Hospital with life-threatening head injuries. Fire officials said a pickup truck driving too quickly through the emergency scene lost control, hit a guardrail, and struck one of the fire engines and 2 of the vehicles involved in the original crash. A crew member of the engine was able to alert the officer on the engine, who nearly avoided being struck, but that crew member was struck by one of the vehicles and tumbled onto the road. He was taken to Elliott Hospital with hip and knee injuries and was treated and released, officials said. All northbound lanes of I-93 were closed during the emergency response. The crash came as Granite State commuters struggled with icy conditions on the roads. Melting snow and ice from the day before refroze, causing problems along I-93 and other roadways. Reporting live here in the studio, I'm Riley King for WRMK News 12. Okay, and there you go on that report. New Hampshire bill would establish process for banning books from school libraries. Let's take a listen to that report from WMUR News 9.
Looks like you won something there.
Yeah, I ditched my tax guy and switched to H&R Block. I feel like a tax champion.
Jamie, the bill's key sponsor, says this is a nationwide problem, he thinks. Parents, he argues, are crying out for an avenue to challenge books that they deem to be inappropriate in their kids' school libraries. Well, opponents of this bill say this new process being laid out in this bill is way too vague. The bill's key sponsor, Senator Kevin Avard of Nashua, says at this point, parents have no recourse if there's material deemed inappropriate except to withdraw their student from the school. But as we've previously reported here, some districts do in fact have a challenge process. Avard says this bill lays out a new process starting with the complaint going to the principal, then eventually appeals to a school board and ultimately to the State Board of Education. Opponents say the standard of what the adult community might find harmful to minors, as is labeled in this bill, is too vague. And the ability of one parent to start this process would remove individual liberty and local control.
There are parents that are outraged at, they would call it grooming, they would call it pornography, They would call it obscene, very suggestive materials, and they don't feel as though they're getting any satisfaction with their local school boards.
The bill represents big government intruding into a family's personal decisions. If a parent doesn't want their child reading a library book, they can say, don't let my child take that book out. But they can't make that decision for all the children in the school.
The Department of Education says this bill would require all library vendors to issue ratings of all the material going forward and retroactively, and that if a vendor didn't create this rating system, they wouldn't be able to do business with any New Hampshire district.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Officers treated at hospital after they say they were exposed to fentanyl tea. Let's take a listen to that report from WMUR News 9.
Jen, Jamie, thankfully those officers are doing okay, but they did have to be brought to the hospital along with that suspect. According to police, last night officers were looking for that suspect after he robbed a Target in Somersworth. They eventually were able to track him down and identify him as 42-year-old Robert Bragg. When they searched Bragg, they found he had bags of what they believed to be heroin, fentanyl, and meth. He had other drugs as well hidden in his body, and which he tried to swallow. When officers tried to remove a bag of heroin and fentanyl from Bragg's mouth, it ripped and particles of drugs started floating in the air. As I said, Bragg and the officers were brought to the hospital, treated, and released several hours later. Bragg is also facing several charges, including armed robbery and reckless conduct. And Bragg is being held right now. He's expected to appear in court next month. We're live in Somersworth. Ariel Metropolis, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Lack of solid ice forces pond hockey tournament to move again. Let's take a listen to that report from WMUR News 9.
Wow, look, Clipper. Fast internet made easy. Who's my little MVP?
At a certain point, we're looking at plans C and D to host this thing this year.
As of Tuesday, Plan B is still in effect for the 15th annual New England Pond Hockey Classic. Normally, hundreds of hockey teams play on the big lake, but there's a whole lot of water where pucks are supposed to be dropped.
I think it is what it is. I don't know what a traditional New England, New Hampshire winter is anymore, but maybe we'll get back to it one day.
For the second straight year and fourth time in 15 years, the tournament will be across town at Lake Waukesha. The location change came down to too strong of currents from rainwater and snowmelt, and the winter just not being cold enough.
This is going to become our normal winters.
New Hampshire State climatologist Mary Stampone says this might be the new norm for Granite State winter activities.
Our winters are warming at the fastest rate of all the seasons. And so with that, we're just seeing overall warmer winters with a lot more milder weather in between.
Every year, we're reminded why hockey's played indoors, right?
The ice at Lake Waukesha is at 10 inches, and crews are working long hours to get it to about a foot by turning time.
If we couldn't maintain the ice with our machines, you're talking heavy-duty tractors, things like that, we wouldn't be able to be out there, right?
But come Friday, this sold-out event will have 275 teams ready for some hockey.
So it's going to be bumping. People are going to be down here having a good time.
Now, the event hasn't been played at Meredith Bay since 2021. And Scott did tell me that a couple of weeks ago, they did try a Hail Mary, and they actually dumped 500,000 gallons of water on top of this area that you see behind me. But unfortunately, it didn't freeze, and they had to move to Lake Waukesha. But we're live here in Meredith. Troy Lynch, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that report. No homeowners and rental insurance policies don't typically cover flood damage. Let's take a listen to that report from Verify.
¿Estás disfrutando Spectrum TV? Claro, con mi plan latino tenemos la mejor selección de canales en español.
Severe weather can bring significant rainfall and damaging storm surges, which floods low-lying communities. While most people have traditional homeowners or renters insurance, some people may find they might not have coverage to rebuild after a flood. So, let's verify. Do homeowners and renters insurance policies typically cover flood damage? Our sources are the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the Insurance Information Institute, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and insurance companies Allstate and Amica. Homeowners insurance is a way to repair or rebuild your home after something bad happens. Homeowners insurance, along with renters, also helps cover the cost to replace your belongings. When you buy a policy, insurance companies will give you a detailed list of what is and isn't covered. The major insurance companies we check with say flooding isn't covered in standard policies, but you can purchase separate flood insurance from a private company or a policy that's backed by FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program. So, no, homeowners and renters insurance policies do not typically cover flood damage. Flood insurance policies usually require you to purchase them at least 30 days before they take effect. If you didn't buy coverage ahead of time, FEMA also offers some assistance to people who live in areas that receive a presidential disaster declaration, but it's typically much less than what flood insurance would cover. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Good information there. House Republicans seek to impeach Homeland Security Secretary. Let's take a listen to that report from CBS News.
We expect some heated arguments on Capitol Hill later today, where House Republicans are going to move forward with a plan to impeach President Biden's Homeland Security Secretary. They argue that he has failed to enforce and follow immigration law. Democrats say Republicans, they're just playing politics. Scott McFarland is on Capitol Hill with more on this story. Scott, good morning to you.
Hey, Gail, this is a very rare step. The last time Congress impeached a cabinet secretary was after the Civil War. Critics say it's a dangerous precedent and it achieves little. The House Homeland Security Committee meets this morning to give initial approval to 2 impeachment articles against Alejandro Mayorkas. Republicans argue the Homeland Security Secretary has breached the public trust and willfully failed to enforce the law. They say he's been negligent as thousands of migrants crossed the border, including 4,000 on Sunday alone. Mayorkas, in response, released a letter this morning to the committee chairman saying the false accusations do not rattle him. And he says his agency has not only provided testimony, but thousands of documents, hundreds of briefings, and quite clearly is enforcing the law. Meanwhile, Democrats have blasted these proceedings, calling them an abuse of power and saying they stand little chance of passage in the U.S. Senate. Meanwhile, Mayorkas has been a key negotiator here on Capitol Hill as the Senate tries to pass new border security law, and these impeachment proceedings certainly complicate what are already fragile negotiations. Tony?
Scott, thank you very much.
Okay, and there you go on that report. And we are going to switch gears now, and let's go into your weather. And here's meteorologist Matt Honing from WMUR News 9 with your weather forecast.
Fidium Fiber's smart Wi-Fi means that your home network learns from how you use the internet. It also means your devices are connected with the best signal strength at all times. So connect all your smartphones, TVs, doorbells, thermostats, refrigerators, litter boxes.
Cold and mostly cloudy as of midday, and we're looking at temperatures staying below freezing through the course of the afternoon. Here's how it looks going forward. 20s to near 30 for most of us. A few breaks of sun in spots developing, and those will try and push their way to the south and west in the coming hours. Interior southern New Hampshire may have a hard time seeing the rain, or I should say seeing the cloud cover breaking, but we should see more sun by tomorrow. Weak weather system over the Great Lakes earlier on this morning. That is going to actually dive to our south and not really have much of an impact here in the Granite State. Tonight, teens and 20s with a few clouds still overhead, but by tomorrow, I think it will be a brighter day as temperatures get back above freezing. We're in the mid to upper 30s come Wednesday afternoon. Even a bit milder on Thursday, highs near 40. But by late week, we are keeping an eye on what will be some more active weather. Not going to be a major storm system by any means, but there could be some scattered rain and snow showers returning to the forecast. Here's how tomorrow breaks down. Temperatures starting off in the 20s, a mix of sun and clouds. Highs during the afternoon get back into the upper 30s to near 40. By Thursday, clouds are going to return return, and especially through northern parts of New Hampshire, we'll likely see some scattered snow showers developing over the course of the afternoon and evening hours. Could add up to a coating in a few communities, and then yet again on Friday, another system will move in here for Groundhog Day. That one just brings some scattered rain showers south, likely some mixed rain and snow showers up north as temperatures are still relatively mild. We'll clear up by the weekend, though, with brighter skies returning by Saturday, but it's colder, it's breezy, as yet another quiet stretch of weather builds in through early next week.
Okay, and there you go on that weather forecast. And we are going to switch gears now, and let's go into your sports report right now. And in sports, the Celtics, they had a game last night, and the final score of that game last night was Boston Celtics 118 and New Orleans 112. Celtics won the game last night. Congratulations, Celtics. And Celtics, they have a game tonight as well at 7:30 p.m. at the TD Garden against the Pacers. Let's go Celtics. Hopefully they can win tonight's game. And that is your sports report, and that does it for this evening edition of WRMK News 12. Thank you for watching. Have a great evening, and good night. Bye.